Okay, hello and good day to everyone that is currently tuning in here at the Sphere Rocket Podcast Network. Once again, I'm going to be the host for today's episode. My name is Dwayne, and right now we have a really extra special episode because right now our guest is one of the legends in the field, and he's known to be Mr. Smile. Yeah, the legendary smile that you're going to be seeing real soon. But to give you a brief overview or background about him, he moved to America 40 years ago with just $7 in his pocket. But 40 years ago is quite a while. Through his hard work, dedication, he was able to build $1 billion worth of investment and its real estate empire. So how did he get to that? Let's see the history from the man and the legend himself, Mr. Smile. Vinny, how are you doing? And welcome to the
Oh,
podcast.
thank you so much, Dwayne. It's such a pleasure to be with you and with your audience. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, when I was reading about your story, it's crazy. Like $7 to a billion? Like how? But as much as you want to get that answered first, I guess I would like to ask you, Mr. Vinny or Mr. Smile, what do you think is the best meal that you can have, celebrating something, if you can have any?
Oh my gosh, best meal actually. I love seafood quite a lot. Also Indian. I'm from India originally, so having a good Rogan Josh or curry is another one, great way. And have
Butter
gulab
chicken?
jamun.
Oh, I tried gulab jamun, the sweet dough balls kind of thing. Oh man, it's so delicious, but I feel really bad because I know it's so much sugar, but it's still delicious. It's a treat.
Yeah, that's
And
for sure. That's for sure.
and what I love about Indian cuisine is that you never lack any flavors. You're the
Yeah,
taste of it. It's just biryani, you name it, any kinds of food. It's just so
so
delicious.
true. So true. So true.
That being said, you seem quite close to home in India. So, what led you to be in America, and how did you get started in your business?
Actually, I grew up in New Delhi, India capital. And as I was growing up in India, parents always say you become a doctor or an engineer. So I chose to be an engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer, a production degree, and I worked in Bombay. So I always wanted to grow, into management. And I came to know that I need to do MBA, Masters in business administration, to be in a managerial role. That's what led me to USA. 40 years back, my uncle sponsored me, and I could only come with $7, and my grandpa paid for my ticket to come here. As my parents were not really wanting me to come, they thought that they will lose a son, going to a different foreign country. But I've been a good son, I'm happy to say that.
I guess that's also one of the reasons why you're so successful. You're such a good son to your family, and of course, your family loves you, and they help you. Maybe not your parents directly yet, but your uncle and
Yeah.
your grandpa help you out, and
Mhm.
the rest is history. But you're an engineer, you mentioned. So,
Yes.
how did you get to investing in the real estate from engineer to that?
What happened was while I was at George Washington University, one of my friends said, Vinny, what are you doing in summer months? I said, oh, I don't know. I'm not going to college. It's university. He says he sold encyclopedias and Bible books door to door. Would you like to come with me? That's what he told me. Here I had just come from India, thick accent. Nobody could understand me, everything. But I said, okay, let's do it. And I'm always like a go-getter, I just take on the challenge. So we went to Atlanta, Georgia, and we sold Bibles and encyclopedias door to door, 13 hours a day.
15?
I was 13, 1 3, 1
13
3,
still.
13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So 78 or 80 hours. If you close 80 hours, then you get a reward. So I always did 80 hours, but I was walking door to door, knocking. So every rejection was really making me tougher and really paving the way to become a salesperson. So actually, I became a salesperson and left my engineering in a box, and I became into consulting and fundraising and public speaking. That has been my life instead of being an engineer.
think it's in your blood in sales because if any random people, I don't know, random person would just go out door to door, getting rejected is one of the hardest thing to, to get,
Yes,
especially if you're not used to it. Imagine getting the door slammed in your face. Some would even say bad things like, "Hey, don't waste my time" and stuff like that.
yes,
And
yes,
it takes some really tough, heart to be able to handle all of that. And what you mentioned, it made you tougher. Every rejection didn't make you
exactly.
weaker, but the
Hmm.
opposite. It made you more
Just the
stronger.
opposite, much more stronger. And I liked it so much. And I saved money first summer.
Mhm.
So I went back second summer and then third summer. So I was crazy. I was crazy.
You
But
loved it.
but
You loved it.
yeah, I just loved it. And last summer I saved I think $17,000 in just 3 months. So that was a lot of money back then in
Crazy.
1978.
Yeah.
1978. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that being said, now I'm quite curious. How did your family thought of you changing career? Because you said you're either a doctor or an engineer. How did they react to that? They're like, hey, I'm gonna be a salesperson now.
It was totally very, very. They say, my gosh, you went to 5 years of engineering and you passed with distinction. I got a merit scholarship in India. So they were quite perturbed, is the right word, right? They said, oh my gosh, you always wanted to be an engineer. Now you're a sales consultant. I wouldn't say salesperson. I'll say I'm a promotional sales consultant. And I started my first job was $10,000 a year straight commission job. And I'm so glad my wife, we have been married 44 years now. I'm so glad she didn't ask me how much I made. Maybe she wouldn't have liked me then.
I think you're regardless. I think if you're able, 44 years in the marriage, I think your wife would have stayed with you, no matter how much you were earning. But 10,000 though in a year in America, that's it's tough. It's tough to live by that.
No,
How, how
yeah.
long did you live with that salary?
I was there. Let's see, I got married. I remember I told my wife, I'm a goal setter. So I said, honey, I'll be making 5 times. After marriage, I told her I'm on straight commission, draw gets commission, and consulting and everything. So I'll make 50,000. Watch me in about year and a half, 2 years, which I did. I was in Ohio, Findlay, Ohio at that time, Bowling Green, Ohio. Then my company moved me to California. So that was a very positive thing that happened in my life. They moved me here to expand on their, business. It was motivational speaking, fundraising kind of things. So when I came to San Francisco area, my buddies, my friends will talk about real estate. Oh my gosh. So that's when it started in my mind. Hey, Vinny, save money and buy real estate. So we bought a lot of single family homes just to kind of crush it all together. And we were finding single family homes didn't get us where we wanted to go. That's when, about 18 years back, I got a coaching and, and I learned how to raise money because that's the key to my success. If I may share with everybody, this book I wrote because I learned the power of raising money syndication and started from $7 to over $1 billion in portfolio. The key thing was I collected money for family, friends like that. So we have lots of investors now who give us money 100,000, 250,000, 500,000. Some even give $1 million to invest into bigger real estate deals and we give them returns.
It's crazy amounts of money to be investing. And how do you convince people? Like, you
I
know,
know.
in a nutshell,
Just a
how are
smile.
you able to
Just a smile. Just a
oh
smile.
man, so it's just, you know what? I feel like investing $100,000 with you now, just seeing your smile. So it has got to be the smile. 100%.
I appreciate that. No, I really learned it from the very best of the best in USA. I really studied a lot, and then I practiced what I learned. And that was to make some good, solid presentation packets. I invited investors, paid for their lunches at the hotels, and gave big presentation. They fill out the forms. Then I met with them. Just like in syndication, you have to have 3 points they call contact. And then you are sincere, you're transparent because people trust you. When they trust you, that's when they like to give you money. And then you have very good deals in real estate that you have vetted them or underwritten them well. That's what my success has been. I did 40 of those transactions, 40 buying, 40 selling. So 80 transactions only in 18 years, but started from a duplex to 14 units, 180,000 was my very first purchase. Then I went to 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. Highest one, I think I bought $72 million apartment complex now.
That's crazy. How you're able to elevate like that, it's crazy. And I do agree with the fact that, honesty, transparency definitely helps out investors because, they're not investing like $100, $1,000, like hundreds
No,
of thousands of
no.
dollars. So you need to be
Yeah,
extra transparent with them to make sure not just,
totally,
you
totally.
don't over promise, but you just tell them the
You
facts. Like this.
cannot under
Mhm.
promise, over deliver. And my second book I wrote actually, Positivity Brings Profitability. My wife actually inspired me to write this book because this was 5 years back or so. We were married 39 years. She says, I have never seen a more positive person than you. I live with you, and your whole demeanor is different. And she says, write a book on positivity. So next morning, I got up early, started writing the book.
I think you're the perfect person for that. Like, I just started talking to you. To be honest, I'm a little bit tired now, but the moment I started talking to you, I just feel my spirits at least 10, 20%.
Ah,
It's an
ah,
exciting, fun podcast,
thank
Mr.
you.
Smile.
Thank
And
you.
now I'm quite curious. So you've shown your growth. You're able to, have several investors and stuff like that. What do you think
Yes,
were the toughest, when you're getting started, outside the normal sales? Now you're in syndicate and syndication
yes.
investment. If I'm not mistaken,
Hmm.
what were the biggest
Yes.
hurdles you needed
Yeah,
to pass before you get successful?
totally. I think the biggest thing I've seen, I have my own university also. I coach also. People pay me now $100,000 to coach them one on one. So I do meetings with them on the Zoom every time, and then we take them through my own experiences and everything. But my courses are really good where I was able to then pivot into senior living. I turned 72 years of young. I never say old. 72, I'm 72 now. And I'm so pleased that I'm pivoting from multifamily to hotels to assisted living. Senior living is a huge market in USA and across the world because the population is aging. So that's where I find by pivoting you could really capture the markets, and then you could provide investors the returns that you, because everything I do on a daily basis, I keep about 20% of the gain, 80% I give it to my investors. So they just give me money, but then they are just enjoying the mailbox money, I call it, because every quarter we give them the returns, like 9% returns, for example, I'm doing right now. And then when the property increases in value, then they get the equity gain also. They get their original money back plus the capital gain. So usually, I do 5 or 6 C's because I teach a lot. So I could share these numbers on the podcast. But usually 18 to 20% internal rate of return IRR is what we shoot for.
That that is really great though, but how? That's just my question. Like, is it like a lot of people think like it's that easy? You can get returns like 20% just like that. How does it work?
Not easy. Not easy. I will be lying if I say it's easy. No, you have to go through hundreds of properties. You have to look at the full due diligence, financial due diligence. You have to underwrite with very conservative assumptions, which is what I teach also all my students. The key thing is don't just take face value of the P&L and L and the performer numbers that the brokers give you. Those are not the real numbers. You need to get to the nitty gritty of getting the profit and loss statement and the rent roll on any commercial asset. Of course, single family, it's easy because it's just one property. But if it's multi-family, hotels, storage units, or mobile home parks, any kind of thing, you want to be able to learn the skills to underwrite it well. That's number one thing. And then to package it in a way with legal paperwork to present it to the investors, because the investors need to be safeguarding their protection of the capital is number one, and then the returns come after that. So not a hard thing. It can be as hard as you want to be, but you can make it simplified too. So I wrote that book, that first one, Apartment Syndication Made Easy, because I used to love jugglers in India. The jugglers will spin the plates, like, not one plate, two plates, three plates, five plates, even sometimes seven plates. So I cut down the whole learning into seven plates.
That seems like a really beneficial course to study, but people are paying you $100,000. Is that the cost of the studying, or do you have any other different kind of pricing point?
We do. I have 100,000. I have 40,000 again, which is like smaller scale personal coaching. Then I have inner circle at 10,000, which is where I teach personally in a group mentoring for the whole year. Every week we come together. My students are doing deals, they are bringing ideas, and then we put holes in those ideas. We make sure that it's the right thing they are doing, and we teach in the inner circle what to do, how to get seller financing with this market right now, and where to go, what are the emerging markets, what are the different segments that people can, go after with this. 2025 is going to be a banner year in real estate, in multifamily, in storage, everywhere, and hospitality has already come back to pre-COVID levels. And now it's the right time to be getting into the ball game to to have the money raised on the sideline, get the qualifications done, so that when you get the good deal, like I just came across a deal in Dallas area, 30% off market. I mean, cut price, 30%, because the seller has a note due and they wanted to sell it to me for 30 to 34% off what it's worth right now.
That is a great deal, especially at this
Yeah,
times.
it
Someone
is. It
selling at a
is.
discount. I think that's
It
also
is.
one of your talents. Finding the right deals, finding the right places to
Yes,
get there, and
yes, yes.
just one of the many
So
things
true.
that I guess you'll be able to teach as well in in your courses that you teach and your lessons.
Yes.
And going to your growth once again. So from $7 to $1 billion in investments, I'm sure it's not just you growing. You have a team.
No.
You.
I have
So
huge team. I'm so glad you asked me that question, and because I think the virtual assistants, I call them international assistants, because even some people, my team members, they don't live right here near San Francisco, where I live, but they live in Seattle, they live in Florida, they live all over. So having the assistants, virtual assistants or international assistants have been the backbone of my growth. 100%, 100%. I've been having virtual assistants work with me, even with my motivational my last life, I call it, where I was giving speeches in front of 300, 500,000 people almost every other day. So lots of team people, staff people were taking care of so much things so that my appointments are set up and emails are sent and all the reminders are sent and my presentations are ready, all those things. And it's so important for any entrepreneur to really use, Sphere Rocket. I love you guys, literally. I really do, because you have put together such a great program. Justin has done great with 200, 300 plus, virtual assistants where they are trained right. That's the beauty of it. See, you train them right, and you are able to help the entrepreneurs to find the right match to what they need. And you helped me so much, immensely, immensely. And that's what it's all about. You can multiply. Everybody's got 24 hours. See? And I feel like I need to prioritize what A, B, C, D, E, F, G tasks are there. I'm good in A and B. My best time is spent Pareto principle, 80-20 principle. My 20% of the efforts will give me 80% of the result. And then the B's, I mean, the C's and D's and E's and F's, we should delegate, totally delegate through the personnel that you provide so that they could do much better job. So my social channels, my marketing channels, my editing channels, my podcast, my 3 live shows a week. I mean, I just do them and I have to close my eyes. And then when I see them, they're all over the social media. They're all over the blogs. They're all over the place. The cut up, the reels, very nicely done. So I'm very proud of the services that you provide.
It's so convenient, you know? Who would have thought that, maybe 10 years ago, who would have thought that this was possible? Someone will work for you at a different place, thousands of miles away, but technology
Yes,
made it possible. I think COVID was one of the things that made it a bit faster to be
it
adopted
did.
by the globe. So
Mhm.
that's one of the positive things that COVID did to open new. When a door closes, a window opens. So
So
that's the
true.
silver lining to
So
it. And
true. I've been saying that for the last 40 years. Actually, I'm a systems guy. My previous life also, everybody in the company would say, Vinny's the systems guy. So I would tell them, hey guys, you have an assistant on your payroll. And everybody in the audience will say in the national meetings and all, no, I don't. No, I don't. I said, you know what? I can prove to you, you have an assistant. Go in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth. You look yourself in the mirror. That's the assistant. You are an entrepreneur part of the time during the day, but you are an assistant majority of the time. When you're coming through emails, you're trying to do mundane things. When you are just, like maybe even, like driving, for example, right? I mean, how many of us can get a chauffeur or driver, so that we can be working in the back and being productive? And how many times we get immersed into doing small, small things on the laptop or on the computer, which we should not be doing. We should be giving it to somebody who is great at it, and they can whip them out in half an hour, in 15 minutes, and it can be presented to us. The big thing is many times entrepreneurs don't take time to write down solidly what's important in their company and all the things what they hate to do and they're not good at, put them on the right side, and then call Sapphire Rocket and meet with you, and you'll be able to solve the problem. So we all have an assistant, but we just don't know. Every day we earn $100 an hour, certain hours of the day, $500 an hour, certain hours of the day, and only $10 an hour, many hours of the day.
I think that's an amazing take on that one. You yourself will be an assistant if you don't you don't prioritize the things that really matter
Yeah.
to the company. Let's just say that every day you can post on social media. It will take maybe 30 minutes checking emails, 1 hour. I can do
Hmm.
it in a year. If it piles up in a year,
Yeah.
it's a lot of hours that you could have just paid someone else. And you should be focusing on things that matter to the business the most.
Totally.
As I would
1000%.
Yes, as I would call it, it's before you knew it, you wasted a lot of hours. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, like small cuts that you didn't know.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
that's
No,
you don't,
so
that's
true.
something that you don't want to happen. So
So true.
as Mr. Smiles mentioned, try doing an experiment. Just write things that you didn't like. Give it maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just to
Hmm.
systematically fix your things, and then you can decide which one can be handled by a virtual assistant and which ones that you should.
Yes.
And I think that's the process that you got to. And if I may ask, how
Totally.
much is virtual? Mhm.
I know some good friends of mine, and they're in business in medical profession or others, and in realtor brokerage, all that. They have one, two, three assistants. I mean, there are assistants who book their lunch also, so their lunch shows up. And of course all these appointments and all the preparation, everything is all done correctly. The data mining, the blog writing, and once you give the vision, they are able to work on their own base to make us look good and get the leads coming. Like for example, I mean, so many virtual assistants I've hired to give me funnels and automations in my Go High Level platform, which I have SaaS program, and it's mind blowing what some virtual assistants have done for me. I mean, it's just totally mind blowing with all these different social medias. They put calendars so that we could look at and see from each social media what appointments are coming in and how they are already coming into the database. And after a few seconds or minutes, a text goes out, an email goes out, and then we send them newsletters. And there is 51 different emails that go out systematically and offer value. And then they are able to come from the hopper into the funnel. And then you give them value, 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 and then sell them, your product. Hopefully that's what they want.
That's crazy. If you're gonna think of doing that yourself, it's gonna take you an entire day just to do all of
Oh,
that.
no,
Maybe
months,
even more.
months, not
Yeah,
day,
months
no day,
exactly.
no.
Into all of that. And if you're gonna do it all, you're prone to make mistakes because your mind is
Yes,
already all over the place. So it's better to give it to someone who's really more efficient
totally,
in that side of things.
totally.
And
1000%, 1000%. Yep,
yes,
so
and
true.
I guess that's one of there were many reasons why you're smiling a lot because a lot of your work is kind of alleviated from you, and you have your trusted virtual assistants that are the backbone of
Mhm.
your company, as you mentioned. And that being
So
said,
true.
how long have you been using virtual assistants now?
I would say close to 35 years. 35 years. I remember way back when guru.com, and there was lots of different websites. They are no longer there right now, right? Of course, Fiverr, then Upwork came, then lots of placement companies came. I know a very good friend of mine. He lives in Sacramento. He has a very big company also. And over the years, I've always found, and I always had assistants also in my office too. Of course, people do have assistants, of course, everybody. But why not virtual? Why not virtual? So I really believe giving, and it's great living, in Philippines, in India, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in Jamaica, in Canada. I've had all virtual assistants all over the place. And even New Zealand, I remember. I'm trying to remember. Like I used
In the
to,
world.
all over the place. I would record, and then my virtual assistants will charge me certain money to transcribe it. Now we have artificial intelligence softwares. You speak and they write. But I go way back. When I built my courses and everything, it was thousands and thousands of dollars I spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars, in assistance because I wanted to design the whole online course. I think I have 3,000 lectures. 3,000 lectures kind of teaching every part of my business. Yeah, yeah.
And all of those 3,000 lessons, are posted to all social media, shared to the right people, and all scheduled accordingly. It's a nightmare to do it by yourself. So it's
Oh,
amazing that you built this
can't
system.
imagine. Can't imagine.
And
And the beauty is a lot of time people listening to us, they feel it's very hard to work with assistants. It's not. It's not. Once you find out where you need help, you will be able to match by Sphere Rocket. They'll match you with the right, virtual assistant, and they'll be specialists in that so that they will be able to do the training. So I really highly recommend 1,000% that one should take that time. If you're feeling struggle, if you're feeling stressed out, if you're thinking that the sales are not going where you want to, or the leads are not coming, social media, your brand is not being built like you want to, reach out to Sphere Rocket.
you know what? One of the people throughout always say that if people are asking, do I need a virtual assistant to do this, to do that? 80 to 90% of the time, the answer is yes. Unless you're going to ask this guy to clean your house physically, well, that's a totally different thing. But 80 to
Mhm.
90% of the time, fixing your database. Even crazy thing, I was talking to another guy here. He said he even have a virtual assistant book his date for him, like to fix
Ah,
everything. So they can
look
get
at
a
that.
yeah, exactly. It's crazy
Sure.
how flexible virtual assistant into seeing what stuff they need, ordering the groceries, booking your flights. Those things
Yes,
might take
totally.
a few minutes, but imagine having someone just doing it for you. No stress about all of
That's
that.
the key thing, you buy the time with the family, time traveling, to be able to really concentrate on what you're really trying to focus. Talking about clients, when you meet with the client on Zoom, I do most of my business on Zoom. I only travel maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I've been running billion-dollar, portfolios by only traveling 3 times a year, literally, but everything is all done through Zoom meetings where my teams are there, I'm there, we are managing them correctly, we are working with third parties, all that stuff. It's all systems. But what you just said is so right, Dwayne, because the key thing is if you think you can't afford a virtual assistant, which is so small fee, or it's an investment, it's not expense because you buy back time. See, that's what I say. If you're paying $5 or $7, $8 an hour, your time is worth $100 an hour. So you're able to have 10x the input output right there. So when lots of people say I can't afford to, I say you can't afford not to.
That is true. And you know what? That's why I think people have the misconception. If no, not just hiring virtual assistant, just hiring someone. Oh, it's gonna be negative. That means I need to pay someone $10 an hour, so it's
Mhm.
gonna be a profit. But as you mentioned, it's $100 an hour for you, for example. So
Yes,
it's exactly, you need to look at the bigger picture. It's not true about spending
totally.
money, but investing. I think you have an open
See,
mind.
see, we make money. I make money when I'm face to face on Zoom with my investors, with brokers, with lenders, with attorneys, with my team members, with my regional managers and asset managers and community managers, and my payroll department, my accounting manager, vice presidents, all that. See, that's the time which is productive time. But rest everything is where I don't need to spend time. And that's what every entrepreneur wants to spend time where it's the highest payoff. And that is by building relationships and closing sales and, adding value to the people around us in the organization.
Yeah, and there you have it from Mr. Vinny himself, Mr. Smiles, giving you $100,000 worth of courses here in this podcast. So, hopefully you're taking notes. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if I may ask one last question about virtual assistants, what was the
Mhm.
biggest impact of virtual assistants in your business? If you could narrow it down to just one or two ones.
I would say definitely they were able to do the job much better than I could, because we as entrepreneurs, we are I mean, we want to be running, gunning, we are all over the place. And once you start learning something, that's time you have to spend. But it's great to work with assistants who have really professionally done, and they could do much better without training. That's what I say. But the big thing is you definitely need to, spend time where time can bring you more, what's the word, results, right? So that's where
Mhm.
I would say my virtual assistants who do my editing, who do my posting of the shows every week, and my blogs every day, a blog. How can I write a blog? I don't know how to write even. I'm pretty bad at it. But my virtual assistant who is able to set up 365 blogs on the key SEO, words and sentences and everything. And I just look at LinkedIn. There is the blog. There is all these things, and just pop up. All these things are happening through Publer, through other places like that. So I would say consolidating things, branding, that's where the trust comes, because nowadays digital is everything. People, they want to see you, they want to talk to you, they'll Google you first. They'll try to see where you have been and what's your company and what you're doing and so forth, so that you can really add value to them or not.
That's true. I actually Googled you myself before we get to this. And, when I saw Googled you, oh, wow. Okay. So I'm going to be talking to a legend himself. And yeah, thank you so much for that. And pretty much, yeah, it adds up, just the convenience and, the
Yes,
branding. That's why you need to
yes,
invest in, if you're going to hire someone from, temporarily, like you mentioned, from Fiverr, Upwork, you'll have them work on your business for like a month or two, but, they're not going to
yeah,
adapt their branding, especially if they're working in
no,
marketing. So you need to
yes.
invest in someone long term. And yeah, that being said, I'm learning a lot already, and we're not even done with your podcast. I can totally see the value of the coaching that you're doing in terms of them underpaying is what they're getting in return. And another thing,
I open up everything. I open up all my connections and all my documents and everything, all my, 17, 18 years of knowledge on silver platter, so that they are able to become proficient and start building and doing what I've been doing for many years, like, within few weeks, few months. And that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
exactly, and people are still coming back, so that means that yeah, it's worth it, definitely worth it, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's also an investment because you also
Mhm.
gain that knowledge that that's worth 70 years years of your experience in the same field that will
Yes.
save you a lot of time. And going back to your business, Mr. Vinny, so what exactly are you looking for? What kind of people are exactly looking for? Do you have any requirements for them to be an investor in your, in your business?
Good point. I only have two avatars that my team, my branding goes after. One is accredited investors. These are professionals. These are doctors, attorneys, retired entrepreneurs, IT people, engineers, ladies and men alike. And they are the ones who want to invest money with me, accredited investors, verifiable accredited investors. So I have deals after deals after deals where I could show them how they could give me 100,000 minimum, usually 250, 500, or a million. The higher they give me, the higher the returns they get. So they get cash flows and then they get the equity gains. So they are not debt investors with me, they are equity investors. And the beauty is when we add value to the multifamily or hotels or whatever it is, then at the end, when we do refi or sell, let's say we sold it, now there is huge equity gain. But the bank says, you just pay off the loan that I gave you. I don't want to take any profits on top of it. That is unheard of at all, because even when you are just paying the mortgage over the years, the principal balance goes down, and now you made 5, 10, 15 million profit, right? And bank says just give me whatever due, rest is all your profit, and they gave me 70% of the loan to start with. So real estate is such a leverage game that one can expand their net worth and their wealth building at a very fast rate as compared to stocks and bonds and mutual funds and everything. Of course, you can make in some startups, some very X, 100X, 1000X, but in real estate, it just leverages. If you spend 100,000, invest, you are buying a position equal to 400,000, because 75-25, if that's the loan ratio, LTV, your 100 is buying 400,000. 1 million is buying $4 million real estate. Wow. And the 4 million is going to grow because the value on that will grow to, let's say, 8 million. I don't know, but that's 4 million gain, and the bank will not take any portion of it.
So, how do I invest in you, Mr. Vinny? How? What do I need to do if anyone else is interested?
Anybody who would like to invest, you could just text me directly because I take a lot here. We have 783 investors now. I started with one, and now we have 783. And then we have in the go high level almost 5,700 other potential investors, I should say, and they could just text me at 925-766-3518 directly straight to me, and then I'll be able to text back, and then we'll have a convenient time for doing a Zoom meeting, and then we'll get to know each other, everything, because all my deals are 506C, so I can talk to strangers, and only for accredited investors only. And I'm not selling any, security in this podcast whatsoever. We know it's only when we meet on Zoom and get to know each other is when I will share our future deals. Yeah, yeah,
Of course, you choose your clients as well, not just to everyone. So, yeah, you need to prove that kind of trust as well to make sure that you're going to be a client. And
yeah,
I guess before we, it's the final part of the podcast, and before we end this, of course, if you would have an advice to anyone starting up, let's say he's like 25, 30 years old, and he still doesn't know what to do in his life. Like, I think I'm in the wrong profession, knowing from you, because you switch many times and you move in from
yeah,
$7, basically nearly nothing in a foreign
yeah.
country. What would be your
Yes.
advice to someone who's lost currently in his life, in his career?
Oh, I'm so glad you're asking me that. I would say depends on how much money they have saved up. The biggest thing is definitely, if you're doing it as a side hustle or if you're totally unemployed, again, the big thing would be to learn the tricks in real estate because real estate will take you farther. Do some small strategies of house hacking, I call it, where you are buying like a duplex, two units. You live in one unit, and the other unit actually you rent it out. So they pay the mortgage. Actually, in USA, it's single family home until four units. So fourplex even, you could be giving rent to three people for three sites, and you live in one. So now you're making cash flow. So saving money is big. Second thing is to really harness the money around you, in your family, in your relatives, in your, if you're young, of course, you could have a co-sign with your parents, people who trust you. And you always look to invest in a deal nearby you or about 2 hours, I say, not too far, but 2 hours, wherever you live, to find a deal and look at small, three unit, four unit, five unit, six unit. But if you can r- have some money available, which I teach in my courses and all at a very low level, or my online course, by the way, is only 997, which teaches everything. So people can just buy that course and learn through my videos, and I give my attachments downloadable in PowerPoint, Doc, and Excel so that they could use those to make them their own, take my name out, my picture out, and things like that. But the biggest thing I will say to any young man or young woman is to take action. You got to take action and get inquisitive. And you want to really learn. There's so much free stuff. Just Google Vinny Chopra. Just Google, and you can go to my channel, YouTube channel. Lots of videos are there. Lots of videos in playlists. You could learn so much. My podcast, my shows, and there are a lot of other coaches out there. They are all amazing. They are amazing. So try to learn real estate and then save money and then you invest that money to grow. That's how I did. From 14 units, I bought 17 years back. That was my duplex, by the way. I just sold the duplex yesterday in Odessa, Texas. I had it for so long, and I think I'm making 300,000 or something total pure cash. Which I'm going to 1031 into a deal in Arizona. But the key thing is you want to really start small, like Vinny Chopra, 14 units for $180,000, and then we sold it for 380. I think it's worth, I heard, over a million now, you know so things are there, and 2025 is going to be a spectacular year if you learn real estate.
Exactly. What I always hear
uh,
from hundreds of people that I talk to, it's hard to lose in real estate, in
yeah,
investing in real estate. And
so
also,
true.
it's hard to find anyone that just became rich just by saving money. If you want to get rich, you need to
Yeah,
invest. Saving will just get you more money, but if you want financial freedom, you need to invest. There's risk, but investment is the best way to get financial freedom. Not just hoarding your money in a bank because inflation will happen, and eventually the
yeah,
value of money will not
go
really.
down.
It will always go down.
3%, 4%. Sure, 100,000 next year will be worth $96,000 year after. I mean, it all depends, right? So it's always good to have velocity for your money so that it's going and making you more money. That's the key.
Exactly. Making your money work for you. That's pretty much
Yes.
the essence of
Yeah.
investing. And
Yeah.
Mr. Vinny or Mr. Smiles, thank you so much for everything. I've learned a lot
Thank
in this podcast, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers will learn as well. And before we end this, maybe you want to give a shout out or you want to promote anything else?
I would love to. I would love to. All the audience who's watching, even later on, please go to vinnychopra.com. That's my website, vinnychopra.com/, free benefits. Free benefits. One word. Everything is there for free. Everything. You could follow me, my podcast, my shows, my three books that I showed, all these three books, you will get free, all three of them in digital copies as well as audible copies. They're on, Amazon also, but you could get them free from me just for watching this podcast and show. So I really want to give and all the knowledge as much as I can so that people can do even better than me and people are doing better than me. I like that.
And I would like to ask you one last question, Mr. Vinny, before we end.
Please, yes.
And this is something that I just thought of. So you've been working for 70 years young, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
You were
Yes,
70 years
yes.
young. So if you're doing it for quite a while and you've had already billions of dollars in investments, so why are you still keeping doing it? Like, what's keeping you in, pursuing it in this kind of business? If you know that, financially you're good enough. So what's your drive in continuing what you're doing right now?
I'm so glad you asked me that. To be truthful, I retired, fully retired from promotional consultant and everything as a senior stockholder in 2015. That's 9 years back. But I started my company in 2014, second company, which I'm so passionate about it. See, at 72 young, I feel like 27, literally. I can talk on the Zoom for 17 hours a day and still be this enthusiastic. So essentially, right now, my passion is to help investors as they are getting, 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65. So I'm very passionate about building or doing senior livings, into my niche. Hospitality is very much. And I just feel like if I don't stimulate my mind every day, I'll become a couch potato. I mean, what will I do? I'll be just into bad things and thinking bad and everything. So I want to be like this when I'm 82 and 92, maybe, a little bit some, this thing. But, I feel like eating right, exercise and everything, it'll keep me healthy. And that's the beauty of it.
You know what? If you never told me your age, I would have thought you're like 30 years old or something because, I guess the energy that you give off, it doesn't sound like an old guy that's like, what old people say, but yours is so energetic. You're more energetic than a lot of teenagers that I see, and I think that's also one of the wonders how you attract the positivity. That's how you attract investors. Positivity, attracts more positive things. It's the law of attraction. What you think you
It
want to get,
is.
you will get it. The world will push it to,
I
and
totally agree. Totally agree. When you are a positive Pygmalion, I read that book, and I read a lot of books, by the way, lots of motivational books, even though I'm enthusiastic. But you got to have miracle morning every morning. You got to, because that's when you pay gratitude and you do some exercise and you do some little yoga and you do some, focusing on who are the most important people in your, life and how many appointments you have and all that. And I really believe in this one. I carry this with me always in my desk right there. It's the hourglass. So I believe in this hourglass quite a bit. This is the future right on the top. The future goes through the present. And then this is the past right down below. So, see, we cannot change the past. We can learn from it, but we should not dwell in the past or mistakes and all the bad things that happened to us and everything. We should not worry about the future either, because who knows? A lot of us think 90% things will go wrong in the future, and they don't happen. They just don't happen. And we get so stressed out about the future. All we need to concentrate is right there in the middle, and that is the present. How are we spending time in the present? How are we making best time ever? And because present is going to really make it special for us to, to make the future be bright. It's the present that makes the future. Past, we learn from it, but we cannot change the past. And the second thing I carry with me in my office is magnifying glass. Magnifying glass, it reminds me about focus is power. Focus is power. So if you go outside in the sun and you want to put, magnifying glass, facing the sun, remember you can go up and down, up and down. Now, when the sun rays are concentrated on the back of the, hand, then only your hand will burn. So it's so important that in our life, the things that we really concentrate and get focused on, they get done. They get done. And we need to be always focusing and goal setting, making sure what's important in that day.
That's a lot of knowledge that I've learned, and the everyday things that we normally see. See how much lessons we can take. So that's really amazing, and pretty much I think you've changed my life in a way. You're gonna be
Ah,
changing the past few days and giving me a different kind of outlook.
ah,
You can change it.
ah,
You can change the past, but you can learn from it. But the important thing is the present that we're living right now. Do not be afraid of
yes.
the future, but work on the
Mm-mm.
present. That's the most
Yes.
important. If you
Yes.
want to move
Yes.
forward in the future, if you keep worrying about the future. So
Yeah.
there you have it. This is Mr. Vinney, aka Mr. Smiles, for our podcast for today. It has been an amazing, insightful episode. Hopefully, we've learned a lot, like me as well, for this episode. And we'll hopefully see you again in the next episode of the Sphere Rocket Podcast Network. Goodbye, everyone, and have an amazing day ahead of you. See ya.
Have a great one. See you.
Feeling overwhelmed by your business tasks? Well, it's time to step up your game. Visit www.sphererocketva.com and get a virtual assistant from us at Sphere Rocket VA. Streamline your business operations and focus on what really matters.